Remember when democracy felt like the future? The triumph of free people, free markets, free speech. The system everyone else was supposed to copy? Not anymore. Across much of the West, democracy isn't just under pressure, it's losing the popularity contest. In 2023, a survey found that just 49% of people in democratic countries were satisfied with how it was working. In the US, that number drops below 30%. And for younger generations, the picture is even bleaker. Nearly half of millennials say they'd be open to a non-democratic form of government if it got things done. So what happened? Well, let's start with this. We've become a society of vetoes. Let's say you want to build something simple, like a rail line to connect an isolated town to a major city. Great idea. Cuts traffic, boosts the local economy, reduces emissions. Except, hold on, that proposed line crosses land with a rare bat species, so we need a 5-year environmental impact study. It runs through an old industrial zone, so there's a contamination review. Local homeowners file objections about property values. Historical preservation societies get involved. Someone files a noise pollution claim. There are public consultations, legal appeals, zoning fights, and before you know it, nothing gets built. The people in that isolated town, they're still stuck spending 3 hours a day in traffic. They watch governments talk about progress, green infrastructure, economic revival, but all they see is gridlock. What does that tell them? Democracy doesn't work. Too many cooks, too many rules, too many people saying no. And this isn't just about one rail line. It's about housing that never gets built because someone objects to the height of a building. It's about energy projects delayed for years over paperwork. It's about climate plans watered down to nothing because every interest group wants their exemption. And it creates this deep, growing feeling that nothing big can ever happen anymore. That democracy, with all its process and consultation and compromise, just gets in the way. Meanwhile, people look around and see other systems, not freer, not fairer, but faster. China builds a city in the time it takes a Western democracy to approve a bike lane. That contrast, fair or not, hits hard, especially when life in many democracies is getting harder. Wages are stagnant, costs are up, infrastructure is crumbling, and what do people see their politicians doing? Arguing, performing, launching inquiries that lead nowhere. It's not just that the system doesn't deliver, it's that it can't deliver. All of this frustration starts to curdle into something deeper, suspicion. If democracy keeps failing to deliver, maybe it's not just slow or broken, maybe it's rigged. That's when people start looking for answers elsewhere. And where do they turn? Social media. But social media doesn't reward thoughtful explanations. It rewards outrage, simplicity, conspiracy. If someone posts a careful thread about why housing policy is complex, it'll be buried. But if someone screams that global elites are deliberately keeping you poor while importing immigrants to replace you, that'll go viral. The algorithm doesn't care what's true. It cares what's engaging. And once you're in that loop, things get darker. People who are already frustrated by the failures of democracy now find explanations that confirm all their worst fears. That politicians are corrupt puppets, that the media lies, that nothing is real. Anger turns into paranoia, paranoia into disengagement. Or worse. Now try governing in that environment. Try building something. Try passing a new law. You'll be met with a flood of rage and incoherent fury from people who are convinced that even the most basic policy is part of a sinister plot. Want to raise taxes on polluters? That's a communist takeover. Want to build a school? It's a child trafficking hub. Want to improve healthcare? That's how they're going to chip you. You can't reason with it. You can't respond to it. You can't even predict it. And so a lot of governments, even well-meaning ones, just stop trying. They retreat into safety, into inertia. Which of course only makes the original problem worse. This is how democracy eats itself. Not through tanks or coups, but through feedback loops of failure and distrust. And once that loop is in motion, it's very hard to break. So why are people spending so much time on social media in the first place? It's not just about news or politics, it's about something more human. Because underneath all the rage, the memes, the conspiracy rabbit holes, there's something much quieter driving it all. People are lonely. Social ties, real ones, the kind that once anchored people in communities, are fraying. Extended families don't live close anymore. Local clubs and churches and unions have hollowed out. Neighbourhoods feel more anonymous. Friendships get reduced to comment threads and emojis. Even at work, people feel replaceable, remote, disconnected. And in that vacuum, people go looking for connection wherever they can find it. Social media gives the illusion of that connection. It offers you a constant stream of content tailored to your fears, your hopes, your tribe. It makes you feel seen. Even if what you're being seen for is your anger. And once you're hooked, it becomes your window to the world. You're no longer just watching the news. You're living it, reacting to it, performing your place in it. You're not a citizen. You're an audience and sometimes a soldier in an information war you don't even fully understand. And when you're that plugged in, politics stops being about compromise or boring policy decisions. It becomes identity. It becomes survival. Your side, your truth, your reality. Under threat. Which makes democracy harder still. Because democracy depends on the idea that people with different views can live together, can disagree without trying to destroy each other. But how do you do that when every disagreement feels existential? Here's the danger. People aren't just losing faith in democracy, they're starting to believe that something else might be better. Authoritarianism, technocracy, strongmen with simple answers, and no patience for process. When democracy feels captured by elites, when nothing seems to improve, when your life doesn't get better no matter who you vote for, you start to look for alternatives. And when you're lonely, isolated, drowning in social media outrage that feels like community but fuels only more rage, those alternatives start to feel comforting. At least they do something. At least they decide. But that's the trap. Because the more people turn away from democracy, the more broken it becomes. The more they rely on platforms designed to inflame, the harder it is to govern anything. And the more we let democracy rot, the more we invite something darker in. Not because people hate freedom, but because they're desperate for control, for clarity, for a sense that someone is steering the ship. That's how democracies die now. Not in violence, but in exhaustion. And once we cross that line, we don't get to just walk it back.